Which episode is this? 5. Jeez.
All right, we're live. Mind Matter episode 5. We're back. Still making these things. Alex had a really good idea for today's episode, so why don't you get it started?
All right. Today we're going to talk about how to think about money and the differences in the ways that really successful people who are really good with their finances think about money versus how I would say most people think about money. So let's start with the phrase like money doesn't buy happiness. We all know it. It's the staple of every parent's recommendation on, well, maybe most parents' recommendation on what to do for your job.
How much money does your mom have?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think what most people see when they hear that phrase is that the only thing money is good for is to buy you stuff, and stuff doesn't bring you happiness. And I would say that's absolutely 100% true. Nice cars, boats, yachts, they're never going to make you happy. They're cool, and I'm sure they're fun.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that statement. We could probably argue about that for a few hours, but
never going to bring you deep, meaningful fulfillment.
There you go. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. But what most people forget or just are never taught is that money isn't only good for buying you stuff. Money can purchase you freedom. And what that means is if you put your money to work for you, then eventually you don't have to put yourself to work for you anymore. Mm-hmm. So what does that mean to you? What do you think about that statement? Putting your money to work versus putting yourself to work.
Well, the thing is, it's a really it can come across as a really salesy pitch. Like it's like make your money make you more money. And I think a lot of the individuals who are more prone to thinking about salaries and hourly wages rather than passive sorts of income or accruing wealth by increasing equity in certain places probably wouldn't really understand the validity of that statement. So like when I remember a few months ago when I kind of started to watch content about financial independence, started hearing that slogan term, make money while you sleep, or create passive income, it seemed like it was kind of untrustworthy. Like the person telling real. You, like it was kind of like akin to winning the lottery. But then the more you look into it, you're like, oh, I see what it actually means. It's like, no, you don't just like, do that and then you start making money. It's like you have to put in a lot of time and effort, smart investments, and they have to go well. But then what's happening is after the time that you made that initial effort to either put the money in, let's say in an investment, you don't have to be constantly working at that investment. That investment just sort of either grows or doesn't grow over a period of time, and it depends on how much work and luck you put in it initially.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people spend their day, they go to work, they make money, they sort of tire themselves out, and then they end up spending that money on, recreation, toys, fun, to kind of balance out that work. It's like,
it's kind of the mindset is I go to work so I can do these things.
Exactly. And I think probably the hardest thing for anybody who wants to get into passive income streams, into investing, into changing the way they think about money is to break out of that stream. Mm-hmm. We have some other videos talking about different sort of mindsets and stuff. Definitely check out our other content, and we're sort of building on it. But you got to start thinking that the process of building your future is the reward, and not the money. Because unfortunately, what you're going to have to do if you want to make this happen is you're going to have to put all the money into your future, really. you're not able to spend it now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, of course, you could put various amounts into passive income, so you could still have some spending money left over. But
Yeah, it comes to budgeting. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's exactly it. Is you got to decide how quickly you want to get the passive income train online. The faster you want to get it online, the more upfront costs there's going to be.
So let's talk about budgeting because I think that's one of the most important steps to get started because I think even in my case, when people would say like, hey, if you put away this much money in every month, by the time you're X age, you'll have this much left over. And I'd be like, well, I can't dedicate like $200 a month to put away. Like I'm like barely scraping by to pay off my, my expensive car or my stupid bills that I rack up because I like to eat out in restaurants and whatnot. And to be quite honest, I still do those things. Like I have a gas guzzling 4x4 right now. I still go out and have lunch or dinner with friends from time to time. But I found that just by reducing those activities just a tiny bit, there's so much leftover cash that you can then store or even save for either putting it in a fund for like a rainy day or putting it in something that will grow that money. It's actually possible even when you're at a student's budget. Like I don't make that much money per month. I maybe work, I believe, like the equivalent of a part-time. I think if you take my weeks on average, I'm probably averaging 20 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
And I can still put away a little bit of money. Now, granted, I do have some advantages because I still live at home, so I do save in that regard. But if I didn't live at home, I'd be working full time. So then while my expenses would be raised, my fixed expenses, I would also be working more, so I'd be making more. So to me, it's kind of the same. Like I could still put money away. You just have to look at the transactions that you're making at the end of the month and see where you're essentially wasting a lot of your money. And once you can do that, once you can figure out, oh, I'm spending way too much money on this particular activity, you cut that down and you'll eventually start to see, oh, I have way more left over when I pay off all my bills at the end of the month. Now I can actually start doing something with that. That's the first step, and that's what I started doing.
So I think we're both. So we're going to talk, just so everyone's on the same page as us. We're going to talk in this video about different ideas and stuff about around money and budgeting and all that stuff, and then we're going to put out another video about once you've got this budgeting kind of train on board, what are you going to do with the money? Where are you going to put it and stuff? So check that out. Coming soon.
Yeah, that'll be like a week after this video.
Yeah. So I think you and I though are in two really interesting, very different stages right now, even though you might be moving into a similar stage as to where I am.
Mm-hmm.
For me, really the strategy right now is because I've chosen to go heavy into school and stuff and working towards, like my wife and I are both working towards careers where we're going to have like a drastic income increase as soon as we start working.
Mm-hmm.
We're just in debt minimization right now.
Mm-hmm.
We're not really like on board to build much passive income. We're just trying to minimize as much as possible on student loans and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And then as soon as we start making money, then that's where we start, where most people go, oh, hey, I'm making money. I'm going to buy a car. I'm going to buy a house and stuff. And we're going to be like, oh no, we're making money. We're going to just start like purchasing assets as fast as we possibly can.
That's a really good point. Dave Ramsey actually talks about how when you have debt, you should put a little bit money aside, just rainy day fund. But then after you have that rainy day fund, I think it's just like $1,000 or whatever if you're a single or maybe a couple, maybe $2,000. But then you just go to town on that debt because it's the greatest returns that you'll get in your net worth. Like if you're at negative 20,000 in debt, every penny that you put in, it's increasing your net worth. Like it's the best returns you'll possibly get.
Yeah, and a lot of people do recommend, like pay yourself first kind of policies. and I definitely have seen everywhere that the emergency fund comes first,
Mm-hmm.
and I totally agree with that. Yeah, and then it's just eliminating the debt, especially credit card debt. If
Yeah.
you have credit card debt, you're paying 20% a year
Yeah.
on that debt.
Yeah.
If the average passive income stream, you're doing well if you get 10. Most is 5%.
Yeah.
Per
10 would
year.
be like maybe like online businesses or like a really, really good real estate deal.
Yeah,
Most
or
other,
a lucky year in
yeah,
the stock market or
yeah,
something. But on average, you're looking, some anywhere like sort of 3 to 7% seems to be a pretty good range
yeah,
that I've seen. So yeah, your debt has to come first because it's sucking away your
yeah.
your money. And of course too, there's different ways to do it, but
So how do you guys debt minimize? Let's go into that.
just budgeting,
Okay.
really.
So then
Yeah,
how
we
just
so we
I like to be practical. So let's say in your case, how do you guys, and just generally, you don't have to get into the specifics, but like how do you guys debt look at your budget and then see what you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing?
um pretty much I mean, absolutely number one, the biggest debt minimizing strategy I think anybody can have is to work really hard.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're at work, you're not spending money, right? When you're working on something, you're not spending money.
Yeah.
Going out and when you're working together on something, you're going to the gym together, or you're making a budget plan together. So you're hanging out, you're spending quality time together, but you're not spending money to do it.
You're also keeping yourselves accountable.
Yeah, so finding fun, and not everybody enjoys working out with their spouse. Not everybody enjoys, but you can also you can find lots of things to do either by yourself if you're on your own, or
Mm-hmm.
with your significant other that are free.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's so many things that you can do that are free that are so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really drink alcohol at all. We never drink alcohol pretty much if we go out for dinner. That's just like a huge expense.
Yeah.
We don't go out for meals very often. We cook most nights, cook dinners and stuff. I think what I found is the biggest place that we like put our money when we're like doing worse with our money or whatever, and we look back and say, okay, what happened? It's eating out. Really. And then of course for us, like we live on our own and have to pay rent and all the bills and everything. So eating out just kind of like sucks away at our money. Other than that, I can't really think of any large area where a lot of our funds get sucked away. And then from there, we've always like worked during our school as well. We both worked part-time during our bachelor's degrees. We've staggered our professional program so that one of us will be always working and stuff. And then of course you got to look for better debt options too. A lot of people just kind of say, oh, well, I have this credit card, so that's my only access to debt. Never go ask their bank about a line of credit, which can be like close to prime interest rate, which is like 3.9% right now, which is a heck of a lot better than your 20% credit card. Yeah, and student loans, I mean, like people are dead terrified of student loans, but the government gives you bursaries when you take out student loans, which is literally free money. And you don't have to pay interest on it when you're in school and stuff. So if you're gonna be putting some debt somewhere, you should probably be putting it into student loans. Yeah. How about you?
So I do all my banking online. And the reason I like that is because what I can do is I can have, I use one laptop for like leisure and work, and I have another laptop that I used to play games on primarily, but now it's to edit videos. So the reason that's important is so I have two different screens because I don't have a desktop for multi-screen. And on one screen, I'll have my bank statement. And then another screen, I have an Excel spreadsheet where I put in all of my weekly expenses. And then rather than scrolling through like previous bank statements for the month, I have all this information in front of me saying, okay, these are my fixed expenses, my phone bill, my car insurance. This month I spent way too much money on gas, but then I look, I'm like, oh, it's because I was doing a bunch of contracting work for landscaping. I actually made money. Okay, that's fine. Okay, that's okay. Oh, this much I spent way too much money on food, etc. I'm like, oh, well, I went out to Starbucks like 6 times. Why did I do that? I didn't need to do that. I was just being lazy. I didn't make my own coffee. So then by having kind of like one screen with like that month's and then one screen with like the kind of year to date sort of trend, I can see, okay, this is where I'm saving, this is where I'm not, this is where, I'm putting money away, and then, okay, now where am I at? So like every month I sort of get a better understanding of where I do well and where I don't do so well. So then there's sort of this trigger in my head. It's like, I'm going to go get Starbucks. Actually, you know what? Do I need a coffee right now? Yes, absolutely. Okay. I'll go to McDonald's. It's cheaper. Or, no, I don't really need a coffee right now. I'm just bored and I want to drink something. I'll just go home and I'll make my own coffee. It's cheaper. Like, so like by knowing like, oh, this is my actual weakness in financial spending, I have this like, when I have this drive to spend money on something, I also have this other sort of red flag that says, wait, no, stop. Like, remember, you're spending too much money on this. You need to stop doing that. So that really helps me because I like to have visuals everywhere to sort of track everything. So that's what I've been doing, and it's worked really well. And I don't mind sharing. Ever since I did that, I was able to. And by the way, I haven't been working more since I've done that. I've pretty much been working the same hours per week. I've been able to save enough money to completely pay off all the line of credit debt that I had over the past few years that I accumulated by being in school. So, and that was like close to $11,000.
Nice.
So I was able
That's
to
awesome.
pay that off in about 14 months, just making small payments. So it's possible. It really is. So
that's wicked.
It works. You just have to put in the work, honestly. It's like anything else. It's consistency, and it's actually doing the work. You can't wish it and then expect it to get better. You just got to do it. And once you do it, it becomes easier. At first, it's a little daunting.
Yeah, and two, you gotta kind of have that like long-term goal in mind, whether it's retire at 40 or to be able to get to a point where you're going to work for fun instead of going to work to pay your bills.
And honestly, even if you want to retire at 65,
there
are many people who can't retire at 65 because they're not getting enough from their pension. They didn't have enough money saved up, and now they have to do a different job or they have to keep working. Even if you want to retire at like the acceptable or like traditional retirement age, you still have to put these ideas in place. It's just that the earlier you want to retire, the more hardcore and efficient and disciplined you have to be. Whereas I feel that if you're even like loosely disciplined and you apply these tactics and strategies, retiring at 65 and truly retiring at 65 and not having to worry about finances is perfectly possible.
Yeah. That's my 2 cents. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Everyone, stay tuned for next week when we put out a video. Once you start running this stuff through your head, start thinking, how can I, either minimize my debt or start storing away some more money that I can start, investing or purchasing assets and stuff. Next week, we're going to talk about, what to buy pretty much.
Yeah. So what do you do with that money once you actually have it? Awesome. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, share it, comment, all the YouTube stuff. See you guys next week.
See you guys.